Your Excellencies, eminent persons, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate the African Child Policy Forum for taking the initiative to bring us all together today to come to a common understanding on how to engage with the design of the global agenda over the next 15 years. I also commend all of you for making the time to come together to agree on how best to care for our greatest future resource, our children. As you deliberate on a framework for action 2015-2030, let us remember that the post-2015 agenda is a global one. So while we need to agree on a framework that will improve the lives of children in African context, we need to do so within the overall global commitments. The post-2015 agenda is not starting from ground zero. It is intended to build on the Millennium Development Goals. The MDGs enabled a declaration of a clear principle and values linked to very concrete goals and specific targets, allowing us to focus our efforts to achieve measurable targets. Moving forward, we must commit to applying all the necessary human, financial, and institutional resources required to ensure that we meet our goals and targets. The framework we shape today must therefore move from being simply a statement of principles that endorses international and regional instruments such as the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child to concrete goals with measurable targets. We will not get the type of engagement that we want, indeed need, in order to attain real and significant change if the framework remains a generalized one. I therefore urge you to revisit the framework with this in mind during the dialogue. Furthermore, we must remember that Africa is a continent of 54 different countries. Some are very low-income countries, others low-income, and yet others middle-income countries. Though we are all working towards the same goals, we are not doing so from a level playing field, and the targets we set need to recognize this. It is important that we target and stretch us and push us to achieve all that we need and can, understanding that the starting point for different categories of countries is not the same. Middle-income countries, for example, have an inherent responsibility to achieve so much more with the greater resources they have available to apply towards the targets. I suggest your deliberations should be within the general framework of child survival, child development, and child protection. Within the child survival, for example, we need to agree on what must be achieved to realize tangible reductions in newborn, infant, and child mortality. Ensure every child has access to safe, life-saving vaccines at the right time, and eliminate chronic undernutrition, namely stunting. Another example, and within the context of protection, an African framework has to explicitly make commitments on how to protect children from armed conflict and its impact, focusing on prevention, social reintegration, and peace building. This is how the high-level panel is working towards a framework which is universal, and therefore speaks to everyone, while implementation processes will need to be contextualized at regional, national, subnational, and local levels. Finally, accountability is critical. We must push very strongly for a clear accountability framework that will help measure progress and monitor the inputs and actions of different stakeholders, from governments to municipalities in big cities, local government, private sector, and civil society organizations. Everyone must take responsibility and do their part to achieve these goals and targets. I am pleased that all of you present at this dialogue have shown leadership by coming together to deliberate on the well-being and ultimately prosperity of our children. And I wish you success in your discussions. Thank you.